making fun of me because he took a picture and he walked into the podium.
Here, Mayor. Here. I've got one.
Yeah, I just moved.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Is it?
Oh, okay.
Sure. Everything was kind of.
Did it get you too?
She does.
Yeah, well, I didn't dodge it.
Just, I was like,
That's how I like to make an entrance into a room, you know?
it's huge though.
Yeah. It's that's big. Well, welcome everyone. We appreciate your patience as we get going tonight. We had a meeting beforehand and so had some things to do. So we appreciate everyone being here. If there's anyone here that's here to speak at our during our meeting, either at our citizen comment period, there's a form out there to fill out on the podium. If you grab that and get it to Kim, our deputy reporter. We will go ahead and begin our meeting tonight and turn the time over to Councilmember Phipps for our opening ceremony.
Okay, would you please stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
O God, our Father in heaven, we thank Thee for the privilege of living in this land. We're thankful for the privilege of associating with our government. We're grateful for the freedoms and honors that it blesses our lives every day with. We're grateful for all that Thou does as Thou intervenes in the lives of citizens and of people. We pray Thee to bless us in our deliberations, that we may be inspired by Thee, that Thou will be able to bless the members of this community with safety and with the things that they need to live productive and helpful lives. We pray Thy blessing upon those that put their lives on the line every day in our defense and for our protection, that Thou will be with them and protect them. Will Thou bless us in our endeavors, that we may do what is right. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vern. We have minutes to approve, council, from the December 13th work session, the January 3rd special session, January 10th work session, and the January 10th policy session. Have you had a chance to review those minutes, and are there any corrections or additions? If not, I would entertain a motion on the minutes.
excuse me, Your Honor, I move to approve the minutes from December 13, 2016 work session, the January 3rd, 2017 special session, January 10th, 2017 work session, and also the policy session for that same date.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes stand as submitted. Well, the first item on our agenda tonight is a presentation to an Eagle Scout. So kind of cool when we get to do that. So I am going to turn the time over to Councilmember Phipps, so we'll make this his show tonight, for this presentation.
Okay. Well, Your Honor, I appreciate that opportunity because I have a great commitment to scouting. I've been involved with it for many years. I recognize the amount of work that Joshua's put into this, and it's a privilege to honor you. You know, I know one of the things that you do that's not the most exciting things, but you take you acquire citizenship merit badges, because Boy Scouts of America wants to produce good citizens, citizens in the world, citizens in the nation, and citizens in the community. And so I hope, if from our perspective as elected officials here and representatives of the community, if one thing you get out of this is be a good citizen in your community, then all the work that your mom and your family and everybody's put together will be a benefit to everybody that's around you for the rest of your life. So take this, and when you get into your community, when you get settled in, make being involved in local government a facet of your life, and then you'll be able to use those things that you learned. So, but I'm excited about you. I'm excited about becoming an Eagle Scout. We got a lot of cool hardware to give to you there. If you'd like to join me and the rest of the council down in front.
Watch your heads.
Family members that you'd like to have on there?
Okay, can I get your mom up here? Very, very engaged. Your mom has on here. We know who helped you earn this award. We know the reason you have this award is because she's coming up here.
So a couple of things for you. So we have a certificate signed by the mayor here in recognition of that award. And so keep that in a good place, which may mean that you hand it to the person next to you. We also have a medallion from Scouting that is a really cool thing here. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. If you can see that, it's a replica of the Eagle Scout badge as a medallion. That's a cool thing that you can keep as a memento from this. And then we have a coin from Clearfield City. This is something that we only give out to certain people to recognize their contributions and support to Clearfield City. So there are very few people on the earth that will ever get that coin. Okay, so congratulations. We are delighted and pleased that you've done this and let us honor you tonight. Thanks very much.
Can I put Josh on the spot? I think
Oh, sure,
if
yeah.
you'll allow me to do that,
Absolutely.
because Josh's Eagle Project benefited Clearfield. Do you want to tell us and everybody here about your Eagle Project?
So I went to Steed Pond and I built a bench for it and just repaired all the other benches around it and cleaned up trash and all that.
It's a better place. It looks good there. So thank you. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew what you've done. So
That's great. That's great. Very cool.
let's get our picture with him then.
Okay.
Right in front of the center. There you go.
Smile, and it'll be on Facebook. Okay.
Awesome. We'll get that on Facebook.
You want to shake your hands here. Oh, thank you. Here's the
Well, thank you, Vern, for taking care of that for us tonight. And again, congratulations. It is always cool to be able to take care of an Eagle Scout. That is a heck of an honor. So we appreciate you letting us do that tonight. Well, the second item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing for an amendment to the Legend Hills Phase 3 subdivision plat. And do you have that, Spencer? We'll turn the time over to Spencer to kind of give us some background on that.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, the application FSP, which stands for Final Subdivision Plat 1611-004, is a request by Mr. Scott Carter on behalf of Security Title for an amendment to the Legend Hills Subdivision Phase 3 over there in our Legend Hills development off of 1450 South, between 1400 South. The site, as outlined there in yellow, was previously identified for detention for the overall development of the site. The site has been negotiated and sold from Mr. Wayne Ballou, who is the predominant owner of the Legend Hills area, to Scott Carter for, again, the development of a new office building in the area. The reason for the requested amendment is the improvements that run along the northwest side of the property along that curvature were in question of whether or not they were on what would be Mr. Carter's property and what is Mr. Ballou's property. And so just to kind of avoid any confusion there, Mr. Carter decided that it was in his best interest to adjust that line so there was no worry about whether those improvements were on or off his property, and then to improve and develop his property consistent with our codes and ordinances. This item was recommended for approval to the council by the Planning Commission at their meeting on January 4th. It's a very simplistic request. The overall size of the parcel will reduce just slightly from 0.56 to 0.526, with the opportunity for this to be developed through the site plan approval process for an office building. It's consistent with our zoning in the area, which is commercial C2, as well as the general plan for the area, which denotes commercial development in the future for the city. This is the plat that has been recommended for approval. The specifics have been analyzed by our engineering and public works and has been recommended for approval. And so at this point, following the council's action, we would continue on to finish up the project relative to the proposal. So I want to give you an idea of what we'd be getting on the site. This has already gone through the site plan approval process. It is an office building, potentially with 2 users in it. Security title would be the main user, and then they would locate a similar type of office use within the building as well. Parking located to the east of the building. Design consistent with Chapter 18 of our Clearfield City Code, and they've really put some time and effort into this, and so we think it'll be a great project and a great asset for the area. With that, staff is recommending approval to the council for this item based on the conditions outlined in the staff report and shown here on the slide for the approval of this amendment to the subdivision.
Okay. Thank you, Spencer. Well, then, by the authority vested in me, I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here that is from the public that is here to speak either for or against the subdivision? Scott, Vicky, is there anything else we need to know? Or did Spencer cover that pretty well?
Yes, just we moved the lot line 3 feet, so it means street lights, parking lot lights can stay on their property. Other than that, we've got the drive. We decided to keep going, keep no building.
Very good.
So, can I ask a question? Is that that's a new curb cut on 1450?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay.
Your Honor, seeing no request to comment during the public hearing portion, I would move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So the next item on our agenda is our citizen comment period. I've got 3 forms for folks to come up and speak. First is Josh Page. Josh, if you'd come up, since the meeting's recorded and actually on the internet right now, state your name and an address for the record. And
my name is Josh Page. My address is 1069 West, 850 South in Clearfield, 84015.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Council, today I'd like to address a current investigation that I believe might have been closed last week, but I had some concerns with how the investigation was handled, more so with the final I don't want to call it a punishment, but the final, what came down from the committee. Sorry. So I originally came before the city. We'd had some issues with one of the head coaches within the football league, Trey Bailey. At the end of our season, we had a representative from another league came up and was handing out some flyers to some of the parents. I knew the guy or gentleman. He runs a spring football team. After he'd handed out the flyers, the following week I received a phone call from Ginger Myers threatening to not let me coach because of my involvement in this other league. I did talk to Eric in a meeting 2 weeks ago where he said that he heard the conversation because she's on the other side of his wall, so he was well aware of it. And that was why I originally became involved with this issue that mainly is with Trey Bailey. We had had conversations before in the past in regards to this other football league. I knew that there were issues. I chose to let my son play anyway. I've been an assistant coach. I've been an assistant coach within the city for the last 4 years now. And I was extremely offended when I was told that, hey, if you're going to have involvement with this other league that we don't like, we're not going to let you coach. Following that, there have been a lot of other allegations made. I'm not sure if Eric is present, but after the city did their investigation following a meeting in, I believe, November, they found that he was guilty on every charge they were willing to recognize, which did not include him and his wife attacking one of our parents from the team during or after one of our games. The city chose not to investigate that accusation. He was found guilty, or I don't want to use that phrasing, but he had been playing injured players that included one such situation where a kid had a concussion. He put him back in the game. Another child was encouraged not to actually go to a doctor following a game where he had believed to have a concussion at the end of this last season. A lot of racial comments have been made. They've definitely escalated this year. And those were my main complaints coming out. Was there are a lot of little things. Those really stood out to me and are an issue. No coaches should be partaking in any kind of activity like that. I had had many conversations with Eric throughout this whole investigation. I find it interesting that the city at every turn has kind of been in Trey's court. The original meeting, I wasn't able to attend because I had to work. When I talked to Eric about the meeting being scheduled on a Sunday for the following Monday, I expressed some concern with that because I find it hard to believe that they didn't intentionally file or post this meeting late on a Sunday night knowing that most people wouldn't see it. It was brought up when they went through this last investigation last week that it was hard for them because not very many people came out in favor of these kids that had gone through some serious situations. I addressed that right away because the city came out and made it so I couldn't show up. I know that there were a lot of other parents who would have liked to attend. We weren't able to attend because of the late notice of the meeting. Trey Bailey was the only one that was actually informed. I'm sure he told everyone that he knew he had on his side. Going through to the investigation, the city found that yes, he had committed a lot of these things, and their final recommendation was 3 to 6 month probation. It didn't actually involve football, which was what the initial problem was. Everything happened during football, and we chose to let him skate on that. Don't worry about what happens in football. We're just going to say 3 to 6 months. Fortunately, the committee came out and had different ideas, including the assistant coaches bearing a little bit of the brunt of that, which I believe we do. I mean, we're there and we didn't stand up. Going back to the issues with Ginger, at the beginning of every season, we're told that if we have a problem with Trey, don't come to her, go to Trey, because she's going to send us right back to him. She doesn't want to hear about it, which is a serious concern. The city was made aware of all these concerns. I mean, there are allegations of Ginger kind of rigging teams, letting kids sign up late and then putting them on specific teams. I mean, doing a lot of minor things, but there are some major ones. She knew of a lot of what goes on with our team and chose to let it keep going and told us that don't come to her to complain. She doesn't want to hear it from us. We have a lot of parents that would have came out before with smaller grievances, but don't because they're so afraid of what's going to happen. They know that if they come to Trey, it'll be taken out on their child. And a lot of parents haven't came to that previous meeting, not only because we were told about it on Monday, we didn't actually find out until Monday, because a lot of people are scared. They know the city isn't actually going to do anything, which to me is offensive because we're not looking for the children. We're not trying to protect the kids that are actually at risk. We're trying to protect a coach that now has been seen, hey, yeah, we know that he's committing, some things that we don't want him to be doing, but we're still going to give him a pass. And I'd like to at least understand why nothing has been done with Ginger Myers when we know that she had involvement with it, and why the city was so eager to go out and defend Trey and continue to allow him to coach all the way through the investigation, knowing that there were some serious allegations, and he can keep perpetrating whatever he wants, and he's going to get that pass. I think it sends the wrong message to the parents, me included. If I know that if I come to the city and express a grievance, even if it's serious, my kid gets a concussion and they still want him to play, I wouldn't allow my child to play. And the situation where a kid actually did play was a little bit different. But no parents are really going to stand up and fight for themselves because they know that it's only going to come down harder on their kids, and we feel like the city's not doing anything about it. So those are my concerns. I'm sorry they're not worded a little bit better, but
No, and I appreciate that. It's something as a council we have not been involved outside of our Councilmember Young, who's been kind of our representative there. I hadn't known about the allegations until after the season. So in fact, that was the first that had come to my attention at all.
Like I said, parents don't want to come forward because we know what we're going to get coming forward.
Okay. As far as Ginger, that'll be a personnel issue. So that one we'll leave to, and it would obviously, if it was the case, be handled internally, and we'll let our HR department and so forth
I understand.
deal with that one. And then I know the Parks and Rec Commission has made a decision. They've made a recommendation to Eric, and that should come out next week or here in the next little bit.
Okay.
As to where that goes. So
Well, I
it
appreciate
is being
addressed.
handled. So
Okay.
and I have got. Oh, okay. This is.
Hi, my name's Brandy Page, and I'm in Clearfield, too. I have to
Oh,
go
okay.
before
Yep, you're in
you
there,
now
too.
for it to make sense, sorry. So I'll read this as fast as I can, but my name is Brandy Page. I moved to Clearfield 5 years ago, and I started coaching shortly after. I'm speaking to you tonight as a parent of children involved in youth sports in Clearfield, as a wife to a coach, and as a coach myself. Also, I've already been threatened and told I'm in danger, so at this point, I plan on just seeing it through to the end. This began for me personally when a city employee, Ginger, decided she had the authority to threaten my husband's coaching for football in Clearfield, and it's all spiraled since then. When Ginger made that decision to call Coach Josh Page, we had a couple parents outraged by the fact that my husband would be removed from coaching their kids. One of them, Cassie Caldwell, decided to call Ginger and express her concerns. When you are calling a city employee who is put in a position of power, you expect a certain level of privacy, or I guess I do. Ginger called Coach Trey Bailey immediately. Cassie had been targeted during football season with multiple instances where she was cussed out, verbally attacked, and even spit on by the coach and his wife. The worst one happening at Clearfield High School in front of a crowd of people. So for Ginger to call him and tell him what she expressed to her was reckless. A couple days later, we went to our football end-of-season party where Coach Trey Bailey snapped at Cassie. There was another altercation with my husband Josh because he was upset that his name was even involved when Cassie called the city. In my opinion, no one but Ginger should have known what Cassie called in for, and she should have been able to reach out to protect someone she cares about coaching her son as much as any of the other people in the city have been doing for Trey. We've since then had a closed-door meetings at the city again, and he is somehow notified. This is a huge problem, especially when we are being scorned for not speaking out sooner. Fast forward to the committee meeting that turned into a circus with half of our 10 and 11-year-old kids sitting at the microphone in their jerseys. Again, no mention of that in the final decision. They did most of what the accusations were in that meeting alone. The kids were put in an adult situation. His wife slandered people who dared to speak out. We were called liars, and accusations were made to discredit us, which now I've provided several instances on video. He then gets his way, goes up to the microphone where he asks for protection for him and his family if his supporters decide to retaliate against us. You could see from that meeting alone the bullying tactics that have been used. The boys playing injured is definitely the most disturbing. The racism is something that has always bothered me, but the bullying has been used, and it is disturbing. The point is to silence, scare, and intimidate anyone that may speak against them. If they can turn our team of friends against each other, make situations up that never happened, slander and isolate us, they will, only with one intent, to discredit us and keep control they have over the city sports and our children. So the changes I'm begging to see, after a long discussion with a board member of the WFFL, they have very important bylaws and a very strict moral and ethical code. In his words, coaches have been banned for life for a lot less than this. I am also currently coaching boys basketball in Syracuse right now. They also have a strict moral code. They have high expectations of our coaches, and we have absolutely no say in how the draft process works. When you're like me and you've had a negative view of Clearfield Recreation since I was a kid playing sports myself, the last thing that I wanted was for my child to play sports in Clearfield. However, when I was forced to with football, something happened to me. You begin to fall in love with many of the kids and the parents. You see the positive influences that some of those kids have on your own. I just want what's best for all of them, and I want to be a part of the change and the solution. We had coaches and coaches' wives speak out on behalf of being worried that at any time the city can decide they aren't coaching. Well, that's how it should be. If they are doing any of these things, our coaches need to be educated on the fact that the WFFL itself has bylaws about their behavior, and I'm hoping that the city decides to enforce an ethical code as well. We also need to educate our parents that if they see something they believe is unhealthy or dangerous for their child, that they have an advocate to go to. Our kids have a short amount of time to play sports and be a kid, and it's over before we know it. So I'm hoping that all of you will take all of these things very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Adam? Yeah.
Your Honor, maybe if I could just interject, because this is, I know that the comments are being directed to you as elected officials. This is, however, an administrative issue. This ultimately falls up to me as a city manager, and I don't like what I'm hearing. The allegations that we've been hearing now for several months, they're deeply troubling, and I want you to know we do agree with what you've said, with many of the things that have been expressed. We do certainly have a very high level of expectations for our coaches. I've read a draft of that final report from Eric Howes, our Community Services Director. I feel like the final decision that's going to be handed down, I feel like, first of all, it's unprecedented, and I think it's in proportion to what that investigation has discovered. I know that there will be certain individuals who are going to be unhappy with how that plays out for this coach. But let me also say, I'm not going to speak to the internal matter with our employee, though I will say that those things that have been communicated are troubling to us, because we certainly have high expectations for our staff, and that matter is being dealt with. And so, to your point earlier, sir, I know you don't see those things. I want to assure you that we are dealing with those, and we take them very seriously, and I appreciate you mentioning those, but we are dealing with those in an appropriate manner.
Councilmember Young and I had a conversation on the way out of our meeting last week specifically about this, and my explanation to him was if any of the stuff that has been brought to me was accurate, if even the smallest portion of that was accurate, we have to take some severe action. We can't just let this slide. It's not something we would allow for our kids. It's certainly not something we want to allow as a council. So.
Your Honor, just for clarification, I want to point out that Councilmember Young was participating in this as a citizen.
True, as a citizen, not as a representative of council.
And I'm actually the representative.
You are the liaison from the council.
I don't have a voice
I should have clarified that, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I had one other.
I think I need to make a clarification. And I know the advice was to do that, but my reason of getting involved was as concerned as a council member that our city that our city programs are effective, they're being run the right way, and that we don't have these kind of issues. So I don't know from a legal perspective, but as I thought about it after that recommendation, if I wasn't on the council, I don't know that I would have been involved as much as this. And so I do see it as a part of my responsibility as a council in oversight of the city to make sure that the programs we have that are concerned over the children and the programs and staff and everything else. So I'm not sure if that's. I don't think we had overstepping any bounds there, but I mean, it was where there wasn't a majority of the council. I think we're okay. Can you come to the microphone so we can? Yeah.
Sorry. Just going to my point, when you had somebody step up and say, you have a safe place to talk, it's going to be private. It's not going to be used against you in any way. That made a huge difference for us. And I know that I have total faith in you and Eric that you're going to do something. But for me, who's dealt with a lot of these things, for 2-3 years, just having to bite my tongue, to have somewhere safe to go. I mean, obviously, now I'm very public, but having that made a huge difference. That's what I'm hoping that you guys will push for in the future, is having somebody that we can trust, because right now none of us trust the city, like the rec department.
We recognize that with a group of people, and I was gonna try to put a number or qualifier on that, a small group of people, a medium. I don't know what that group of people is, but there's a group of people that we have got to restore some trust with. Our programs, in my opinion, have long had a reputation of being very high quality, and what we've seen recently in this particular instance is disappointing to us, and it does not measure up to what our expectations are. And so it is certainly our goal to restore that trust with our residents, with the participants in our program, most of all for our children. I can tell you for a fact This has dominated our staff's time, Eric's time, Curtis's time, others who are involved, trying to reach the right conclusion, to study it out the right way, perform the investigation methodically. It's taken a lot of time. This is not something that we've taken lightly. And again, we'll be announcing those, that final determination here within the next couple of days. And there's an order that we want to do that we feel is appropriate. And we'll continue to handle the internal staff issue as well.
Well, and don't get me wrong, because I completely understand that my husband was an assistant coach and he has to, he's being a man, he's saying, you know what, I have consequences and I get that. But I guess from you guys, I just wonder where he was supposed to go, who he was supposed to turn to, because, him getting taken out of coaching is, I understand for a little while, but and I guess I don't know your final decision, I just know what the committee recommended. It doesn't seem like it's fair to me when he wasn't accused of attacking parents or kids or putting kids in hurt or anything, but he just knew about it, but he had no safe place to go. There, we're told not to go to the city. We're told not to. So if I hadn't had a city council member talk to me, we wouldn't even be here right now. And I guess that's where I struggle with the decision with the assistant coaches, because the boys still need good coaches, and they have some great ones, and they're all going to get punished. You know what I mean? When I feel like they didn't have an outlet.
Again, we acknowledge, in my opinion, I think there is certainly a breakdown at some level of Clearfield City staff responsibilities. And I would encourage you to wait until the final decision is announced, and we can go from there as far as how that may vary between certain individuals.
Thank you so much.
I did have one more. Yeah. Yanel, you want to come up? If you just state your name and address for the record.
My name's Yanel Kemp. I used to live at 1088 West 25 North in Clearfield, but we have moved to Syracuse.
Yep, sorry, we're done. No, I'm just kidding.
My boys still play Clearfield basketball, which I will tell you, it is bothersome to me that Trey is still allowed to coach right now as my boys are playing basketball. And I don't care that it was leaked out that I spoke against him because it's the right thing to do and nothing I said was a lie. I would tell it to his face. I would tell it to anybody that asked. But no, I don't want to feel like my boys are targeted. But before I go into that, I have something to read from Cassie Caldwell. She could not be here. But, okay, I'm reading this on behalf of Cassie Caldwell, who couldn't be here tonight. I am bothered by the fact that the city didn't think the experiences I had in basketball season and football season were even worth mentioning in the final decision. As a parent that couldn't go to my son's practices or games without fear of being attacked in some way, that is not okay. I feel that because they said I'm an alcoholic and Josh Page is a drug addict in the committee meeting, the city decided that immediately discredits us and also gave no justice to our own kids that have had to watch several of these instances. My 12-year-old being there when I was verbally attacked and the coach's wife was trying to get me to fight her and she spit in my face in the high school parking lot, or my 10-year-old that saw the coach snap at me at the team football party, or Josh's 10-year-old that saw his dad cussed out at the same football party while he sat and cried at the table at classic skating. Our kids matter too, our experiences matter too, and I'm told that this is not the kind of behavior that the WFFL wants in their league. So why is Clearfield City Recreation not taking a stronger stance on it? The citizens at the committee meeting kept saying that even though these things happened, it was all personal and shouldn't affect his coaching. But it's the head coach and his wife doing these things at city events and children's games. It is a city problem and it is personal as well. I have had to get the police involved for harassment. I believe if you look at each and every concern that multiple parents spoke to the city about, you would find that our assistant coach is being almost as harshly punished as our head coach without any of the threatening, malicious, and harmful behavior. Just doesn't make sense. We have some amazing men on our coaching staff. The head coach was good at knowing when and where to exhibit his behavior, leaving a lot of our parents blinded and honestly manipulated into one way of thinking. I hope that there is a lot more oversight, and the same way Coach Page is taking responsibility and understanding his punishment, I hope that the city begins to do the same thing. The behavior that is allowed from the top is what is trickling down to the rest of the city, coaches, and kids. Thank you. So that was from Cassie. And as far as my experience goes, my son was coached by Trey as a 7-year-old, and we were told from first practice, Ginger comes for first practice and says, if you have a problem, don't come to me, you go to Trey. You do not feel like you can go to Trey when you have a problem with Trey. But being new to football, new to those things, you just listen to it. My son came home from practice and asked me what ebony and ivory is. How am I supposed to explain that to my 7-year-old? And I know, and I put some of the blame on myself, I should have said something, but you honestly, like Brandy said, you don't know where you can go where it's safe. And then my children just used the N-word, or did, and I was like, you can't just say that. Well, Coach Trey says that. And not, like, just this year at football camp, he is yelling from the stands. There was 2 new kids, and those N-words were his. They were his age group, and those are my 7-year-old was by me and asked me, what does that mean? That's not acceptable for a coach. It's just not. I'm not saying he's a racist, but he uses the slurs, and my son is half Hispanic, and he was known as the Cholo. And when his father found out about that, he was very not pleased. And I understand, I was not pleased either. There were always comments about salsa dancing and his Cholo walk, and I only had to endure it for 1 year of football. I have to listen to it from other baseball season this year was horrible. Him and his wife, cussing. We played against them. My kid was on a different team, and it was ridiculous. They weren't winning, and so then all of a sudden there was some new rule, and Ginger had to come down and tell us of this new rule now that there all of a sudden was because Trey wanted a new rule. Oh, you want your kid to be on my team, just don't go to the draft. I didn't feel that was right. Tell your kid to not do well, and then I'll pick him up. I just don't, the way it goes is just not right. I don't feel good about any of it. We didn't participate in that. We always went to the draft. Whatever team our kids got put on, they got put on. That's not how that's supposed to work. There was a year where Trey had 11 kids, and our team had 6. That's not how that works. And it's upsetting, and like I said, we still play Clearfield, just not football. We have to play football in Syracuse now, but we played football this year for Clearfield because we still lived in Clearfield. And I had to sit next to his practices and hear it constantly with literally calling out one colored kid's over here and the rest over here. He talks like he's an amazing person, but you don't tell people you're good. You just have to show them you're good. So,
okay.
That's all.
Thank you very much. Again, that decision will come down here in the next couple of days, and we'll make sure everybody's aware of it. And I'm confident in our city manager that it'll be proper. All right, so item number 5 is let's see, is that where I am? Nope, item number 4. Excuse me. Consider approval of the amendment to the Legend Hills Phase 3 subdivision plat. This is the piece we just heard about from Scott Carter. Council, any questions or concerns on that amendment? If not, I would entertain a motion.
And I'll move to approve the amendment to the Legend Hills subdivision Phase 3 amended plat and authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This doesn't require a roll call, does it?
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. So item number 5 is to consider approval of the award of bid to CAP Construction for the Z Street Culinary Water and Sewer Improvement Project in the Freeport Center. Scott, you want to come up and give us some background here?
Mayor, Council, it's good to be with you this evening. Several weeks ago, we had a bid opening for a improvement project down in the Freeport Center is to install a new water line and a sanitary sewer line just north of the Freeport office building on Z Street. 7 bids were received from the city. The low bid was received from CAP Construction at $556,000 and some change. That dollar amount exceeded our budget, We went back to our engineers to look at the project, see if there was something that we could do to make the project still happen. We concluded that if we was able to make some adjustments to the scope of work, we eliminated some 6-inch water lines, some 12-inch water line that was part of that. We was able to cut out just a little over $100,000 out of that project, and we feel like in reducing that scope of work, it doesn't jeopardize the integrity of the overall project as we did that. We've talked with the contractor. They are comfortable with moving forward with that reduction in scope of work. And so CAP Construction is familiar with that, is willing to make those adjustments. And so it was our recommendation, along with the city engineers, to remove that from the scope of work and to award the project to CAP Construction at that reduced cost.
Okay. Council, any questions?
So are the things that were removed, do you anticipate that sometime in the future those will be done?
The 6-inch water line probably will not have to be done. It was water line that was necessary to install some fire hydrants in the locations where fire hydrants currently existed. And looking at those locations, it wasn't necessary to do that. We could get fire protection with other ways of providing that, with putting the fire hydrant closer to where the line was without having to run 200 feet of 6-inch water line. The 12-inch water line is to the south of a pressure reducing station, a pressure regulator valve that we have. That section of water line, the only reason that was put into the project was to get from that pressure reducing valve up to the corner. It wasn't really that critical to it. We needed to get to the PRV station, pressure regulator, to replace that, but from that point on, it wasn't necessary. Yes, sometime in the distant future, we may have to come back and replace that, but it's not in the immediate future we would have to do that.
And Scott, I'm sure an obvious question, but as far as the water lines that are going to the hydrants on there, the North Davis Fire District is okay with the
Yes.
relocation on that with civil
Yes,
access?
I had a conversation with the fire chief about that.
And they're good with
Yes.
it?
So I'm just curious if, it sounds like some value engineering happened and we were able to reduce the price, but would it be beneficial to try to look at each project like that up front and see if things can be re-engineered to cost less from the outset?
Yes, it would be good to go back and do that. I think what happened with this is those 6-inch lines that we pulled out were initially part of a main water system that went through those two buildings. Since that time, that water line has been dead-ended, and so it is no longer a critical line to where it used to be. And I think as engineers looked at that, they didn't realize that didn't go all the way through. And so as our water superintendent looked at it, as we did a harder look at what we could eliminate, that was the water superintendent's recommendation to do that.
Okay. Any other questions, council? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move to approve the award of bid to CAP Construction for the Z Street Culinary Water and Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project in Freeport Center for the modified bid amount of $454,359.20 and approve funding for the project for the modified bid amount of $454,359.20 with contingency and engineering of $60,000 for a total project cost of $514,359.20 and authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. So we will turn the time over to Rich for our financial update. Some very unhappy looking child right there in the middle. Saying, Rich, I hope that's not an indication of the financial update. I'm hoping the other smiling children. Yeah.
Yeah, the top left.
His allowance got cut.
We have new video equipment, so I just tested it today.
There's one fancy keypad. Can you order pizza on it?
Nothing.
Well, we're seeing it.
Oh, you see it?
Yeah.
We are.
Can you see a light coming out of there?
No.
So if you see it, then it's the projector. It probably just auto shuts down. We need to fix that. Okay. Mayor and Council, we are halfway through the year. This report is just for the period of July through December, fiscal year 2017. Some financial highlights from this first half of the year, the first 6 months. The Class C roads with our motor fuel tax finally came in, and it's now coming in as expected. There was some issues with the state, but that's been worked out. The newly adopted county transportation tax, we have 7 months of data now. We're averaging $26,000 a month for that. Parrot is now 16% into its 10-year period. We have collected $335,000. Have not spent any of it yet, but we have plans to spend it soon, or some of it soon. Just a simple projection, not factoring the economy or changes in prices. With that 16% of collections, I am projecting just over $2.1 million in the 10-year period. The other big thing that happened in the last quarter is Amazon now needs to remit sales tax. We do believe this will benefit the city. We just do not know the impact.
So is the allocation of Amazon sales tax just like any other point of sale sales tax, or do we know? Or?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how they're going to do it.
But we'll get something out of it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be according to.
Okay.
I also forgot to mention that my 9-year-old daughter is watching this right now on YouTube, and it's putting extra pressure on me. Hello, Macy. So this is our general fund. This is our governmental fund. Most of our governmental activities take place in the general fund. This is just the draft, just basic net income statement. So we have revenues over expenditures, changes in balance. At December 31st, 2016, all those dates are wrong, sorry. We are 1 million over, so we have more revenues than expenditures, but the budget plans to spend 1.9. We're going to see an uptick in capital spending in the spring. We did start the year with a higher balance than we had anticipated when we went through the budget, so we were over our 25% of revenue reserve. But by year end, we should be just 400,000 over. But usually we bring in more revenue and we don't spend all our expenses because we budget conservatively. So that number would probably be higher. Looking at revenues, the overall increase over the same period last year was $615,000. Most of that is the timing of property tax. For some reason, property tax just came in later last year. But we're right on track to what we levied for the general fund for property tax. Other changes would be the county transportation would show up in here, and the parrot tax, and the increase in, well, actually that wouldn't be there. License intergovernmental, that is that $247,000. That's the Class C roads is part of that. Fines and forfeitures, we do have a decrease All of my notes are not showing up, so I have to see if I can get that. Wait, is that going to pull up? Maybe that's different now. Okay. Yeah, so the fines and forfeitures is lower and continues to be lower than prior years. We are 16% or 38,000 lower than the last couple of years. We'll probably end up at 400,000 by year end. At its height in fiscal 2012, we had 834,000 in fines and forfeitures. There's less. The bond proceeds from our bond they would show up in miscellaneous. That's why the percent of budget is 5%. We just haven't booked that yet. On the expenditure side, all expense types are lower than budget. We're 50% of the year, and everything's less than 50% on this side. The energy efficiency expenses are not in there yet, so that's why part of that reason why it's 12%. And then overall debt service has decreased from the prior year. We're 126,000 less in debt service just from the one half of the year. Any questions on the general fund? This is just the net for CDRA fund. Everything's tracking like we would expect. Most of the CDRA monies will come in the spring. Revenues in the water fund, if you double that, it pretty much puts us over our budget. So that's tracking as we'd expect. Capital, again, spring we'll probably see more expenditures. Same situation, everything's tracking normal in the sewer storm garbage fund. Now into just the economic trends in Clearfield. The sales tax, the point of sale, is probably the most telling of how the local economy is doing. You can see the July, August from 14 was at this point, and then it continued to increase, but now it's kind of leveling out. That's the first that's July, August, September of 16. Just a slight increase over the prior year. So it's an increase, but it's leveling out. And then again, we don't know how Amazon will play into this once that starts. But that just kind of shows we're kind of leveling out. This is on a percentage basis. Clearfield point of sale from 14 to 15 increased 8.3%, but then 15 to 16, 3.1%, and then the first 5 months of 17 over the first 5 months of 16, it's only 2%. So again, that just shows how we're leveling out. But the state has been more consistent, around 5%. And that affects us because 70% of our sales tax comes from the state pool. So that 30% is the city, 70% is the state pool. We just did an analysis comparing to calendar 15 to calendar 16 point of sale by businesses. So we looked at the top 20 sales tax paying businesses, and that percent made up 39% of total sales in the city. This is just year over year. And that percentage didn't change much from 15 to 16. So that number can tell us how diversified our revenue base is. The lower that percentage, the more diversified we would be. But the good news, it didn't go the wrong way from 15 to 16. Any questions there? And again, that's just total sales tax. So that's the state portion and the city portion, and how it's tapering off. On the national economic data, the gross domestic product, the most recent is September, 1.7% increase. Unemployment is down to 4.7% nationally. In Utah, employment growth was 3%, or we were third in the nation for employment growth. Unemployment in Utah decreased to 3.1%, so we would be down on this line right here, and that 3.1% potentially affects our ability to retain or attract employees. It's probably too low. Inflation nationwide, 1.65%. I looked at the CPI December over December West Urban, and that's 2.5%. So in the Western United States, we're a little higher than the national average. Consumer confidence is at 113. This indicates economic prosperity. So it's high enough to where it's now categorized as economic prosperity. The Utah Consumer Attitude Index is also at recent highs as of December of 16 at 119.
It's interesting, that was as of November 1st. I'm interested
that's
to
what I
see
thought.
how consumer confidence is in a couple of months.
Right, I mean,
How
today
how that plays in.
Today the Dow is very close to that 20,000 barrier, so I think it'll come back high. Just lastly, on population growth, the U.S. grew 0.7% from 15 to 16, so we're at 323 million. Utah grew at the fastest rate in the nation at 2%. So all the states there in the green are the faster growing states. It's too bad the audience can't see this. And Wyoming, anything in blue, shows a decrease in population. They're most affected by the energy sector, and there's a decrease there. But again, Utah, the fastest growth in the nation last year. Lastly, just looking, that's on the economics, and lastly, just our investments. This shows our public treasury investment fund. We have about 24 million in cash. About half is in the public treasury investment fund, the PTIF, and the rest is in our own investment with our investment advisors. That just shows that the PTIF is now doubled where it was 22 months ago. We anticipate bringing in 180,000 more in interest earnings than we did 2 years ago. So we've made some progress there. Are there any, that's it for presentation. Is there any questions?
Nope, where we went over this, or most of it, this past Friday.
Right.
I don't. It's things are positive.
Okay.
Getting better.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. So that brings us to our communication items. While they've left, or at least the majority of the folks that were here have left, just want to make sure that everyone knows how serious we take this, and the staff has taken this serious. We've had multiple conversations about this issue with Coach and with our staff, or or staffing members. So we'll get that decision and send that out to everybody here this next couple of days. 4th of July's planning meeting, first planning meeting of the year took place this last week, and we're moving forward with the 4th of July. And, got one band locked up and sealed, the other one with a commitment, and we'll have contract from them. They just emailed me, so sometime first part of next week. And then just a note that I'll be out of town on for the meeting on the 7th. That is all I have. Councilmember Young.
I have nothing to add this evening, Your Honor.
Councilmember Bush.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Peterson.
Nothing.
Councilmember Roper.
Nothing.
Councilmember Phipps.
Wow, I feel I feel dumb now. Just a couple of things. I hope the snowplow operators are going to be able to get some sleep now. So
Thank goodness.
I appreciate the tremendous work that they do, and so it seems like they only hear complaints, but 99.9% of the miles of roads in the city are well taken care of, and so it's a tribute to them. I appreciate the work that they do. And also would like to express appreciation for the amount of work that went into the offsite last Friday. Well done. And clearly a lot of work goes into that, and I'm sure I speak for everyone that we appreciate that. It helps keep us informed and make informed, appropriate decisions in our working. So I hope you see that. And I think about the first one I went to a long time ago, and this is orders of magnitude better than that. So also, I came from a Wasatch Integrated meeting today. There's a strong movement of closing the burn plant, and need to have there's probably going to be an imminent decision of doing that one way or the other. And I don't know if I can give you couple of thoughts now on this, or you want to talk about it later, or what your preference is.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, here's the problem that I think because we've been talking about this for a while, is that there's no commitment that Hill Air Force Base will continue to buy steam. One of the things is there's, in order to meet EPA standards and other operational necessities, there's about $8 million in changes that need to be made to the burn plant to bring it up to standards and such. So the question is, do we invest $8 million in that, and then Hill Air Force Base walks away from buying steam for, and then we have a burn plant that does not provide any revenue source. And so, so the thought is to just simply shut it down after the end of the steam year this year, and go to the Air Force and say, you know, we're yeah. You're kind of on your own now. You said you wanted to get away from the steam, so now it won't be there anymore. So you know, the net effect is if it's shut down, it won't there won't be any cost increase. There's a long-term plan about that I think we're aware of building the transfer station. The recycling facet of that is off the table right now a lot because of this, but building the transfer station and then beginning transferring 125 tons a year down to Lakeview at South Utah County. So anyway, that's why there needs to be a decision made pretty quickly of whether we're going to make that decision or not. So,
okay. Conversation I need to have with.
What will that
Nathan.
do to the life of the landfill?
Well, the way it was, you know, because of investing into this Lakeview landfill in southern Utah County, we have that as another repository for our waste. So if you balance that with using the local landfill when needed, transporting down there as needed, you can still get the aim of 26, 27 years out of this landfill. If we didn't have access to that, then it would drop that substantially because, you know, just the nature of the volume of landfilling ash as opposed to the solid waste is dramatically different. So. Because everything there, you know, just so you understand now, most of the residential trash is burned, and then we just bury the ash. Now it'll go straight to that landfill. The transfer station, if this is done, then this transfer station will be built in about 2 years, and starting at that time, a certain percentage of the waste will be transferred down. There's a virtually you know, there's nothing ever unlimited, but the estimates are based upon those that are participating in Lakeview landfill. There's about a 200-year capacity for that. So,
okay.
So I won't care after the year 2020.
That's right.
Or 2,200.
Well, yeah. where it's not a discussion item, we won't go into it any further.
Okay,
but
yeah,
but the report is good. So.
Okay, so that's where we stand, and I'm.
If you have questions, ask Vern outside of the meeting.
Yeah.
One-on-one.
Yep.
If we need to flush more stuff down the toilet instead of throwing it away, we got lots of capacity at the sewer district.
Okay, and with that, let's go to staff reports.
Sneak all of our garbage into Weber County.
Adam had nothing. Nancy?
So our schedule is we have no meeting on Tuesday, January 31st. Enjoy your evening off. On February 7th, we'll have work session and special session. We have the North Davis Fire District vacancy to take care of that night and a few other things. We will be having no policy session on February 14th. That meeting is going to be canceled. Please spend it with your significant other. So, and then I just wanted to let you know that the city's made the decision to do by mail election, like to continue that. We've seen great success with that. Our municipal election 2 years ago, we almost doubled our turnout by mail election. So this last November, the presidential election, the county saw 88% participation in the election, which is like unheard of. 85% of that were people who returned the ballot that they got in the mail in one form or another. So just seeing more and more success, more and more people are joining the permanent absentee list and wanting their ballot mailed. Right now, we used to like maybe have 30 voters who would do that every year, and right now our registered voters, we've got almost 20% signed up that every year they just want to make sure their ballot's mailed to them, and those numbers are increasing every year. So we're really excited to move forward with a by-mail election, and so that's what we're planning to do this year. So I know we are planning election already.
Well, the county's going that same way and mandating by mail only on their end. You know, shoot, if we wanted to hold anything else, we'd be handwriting.
We'd be going
If we didn't go that
backwards,
direction, we'd be going backwards and actual check ballots and hand ballots at the.
When's the filing dates this year?
June 1st through the 7th. Yep, 7th's in the middle of the week. You know, it's been the 8th a couple of times because the 7th fell on the weekend.
Right.
So it's June 1st through the 7th, unless the legislature changes something in the next few months.
They wouldn't change their mind.
Never. Okay, any other staff reports? If not, I would take a motion to adjourn from our policy session and reconvene in work session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion of second, all in favor?
Aye.
In the multipurpose room, right?
Yeah, we're going to move down to the multipurpose room on the second floor.
I don't know.
We knew that their commitment to school. And so for them, that
She really not spent a lot of time on that to make sure that you and I talked to make sure that we have really gone back and talked to everybody, got all the statements.
I gather that, because you know more about what's going on, but I gather that
There was a
there's been
lot
kind
of
of a
play
big
that night.
with the Air Force, but they have serious plans to build a new facility. And that's kind of why this came up. They just met with it. They said, yeah, we plan on moving forward that new facility by the end of the year. And then we're not going to need it. So what if that is it? If it's a hey, we don't need to ask them again this year. Well, they'd have to get the facility. Which, so that's not no.
For until they build it.
I mean, that was another option, so what can we do? Because the problem is,
Again, we just couldn't approve, we could never approve it.
Yeah, but what's our penalty going to be if we back out of this contract before the Air Force is ready to back out?
I mean, that's
Where's our penalty there?
You know, Mayor, they're actually,
It doesn't mean they didn't have it. That's. You look at it the other way, if they didn't.
so next week is the board meetings, and they're actually.
Oh, they did, yes.
Based on an allocation where all right.
Well, people in my meeting today, they're all generally for it, you know, when they're.
Yeah. I don't even know Trey. I'm not even sure I recognize him before it's on.
I heard some,
I don't
I was
think
confused. I
there's
didn't say
a-
when
I don't think
people
there's a
just said, hey, just
penalty
heads up,
because
this is
it's year to
happening, just in
year.
case you get a phone call.
The way
I
it
have one,
is,
so I was curious to just see the grants, because I've got my own opinion about it.
yeah, 10
My
years,
kids have been in
but
sports, I've
each
seen
year is renewable.
interactions as far as
And that was part of the reason, like, my understanding was that the Air Force would only agree to that so that they could back out of the bill. So there's no penalty, but the penalty be if we're gonna sell, if we're not gonna close the plant, then we're gonna have to invest at least $4 million into it.
Well, a lot of this behavior.
Yeah, that's.
Substantiated. Staff had responsibility years ago.
Yeah.
Even correct.
I've worried for a long time that he's put himself into this position.
I mean, I've watched it in intense
Yeah.
things. He's very intense.
Take his place.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The relationship that they have.
I didn't hear any more than that, other than you It's not something you want to cross, but
The lower,
okay.
the lower things I agree. If we have staff, it's always figuring out, we can't talk like that.
He is so full of himself and his abilities and his, this is what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
All right,
If allegations that were verified, which I took very seriously, we had more witnesses saying, yeah, I saw him do this and that. Just didn't hear anything say that except for just one or two points to me.
The allegation, you see the report, I hear more parents very, vehemently concerned about the Clearfield staff with their frustration.
Well, and that's the thing is,
And that's where I
it
just
probably would
tons
have
and
been
tons
fixed,
and
even if he does need a bear responsibility, it would have been fixed a long time ago. And it's done damage to our program. I mean, look, we had 11 girls sign up for junior high. That's all of junior high basketball. When they called me and said, well, we've only got 11 girls, so we're determining who the coach is. And then I was told afterwards, oh, they're saying they might give the other coach for experience, and they were worried that I was going to be going to play. First of all, I coach because, I'll be involved with my kids, and they had a back coaching experience, and yada, yada, yada. Anyways, and my first thing was, if we only have 11 girls signing up, I'm pulling my kids, because there's no program at that point.
Yeah, you don't have a ton. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. It was this time, right? First time. Yeah, hopefully we can start something good and changes and whatever else I need. Well, I didn't feel like there was so long.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard how long the minutes after this.